Today's video is a little bit of a celebration on 3 accounts actually. First is, this is the 1000th video that I've uploaded to the TheTopher channel. For some of those early videos were bearded dragon and tarantula videos, and there was some silly stuff going on, but this has been one of my long-standing YouTube channels. Second celebration, Winding Road Magazine's YouTube channel just hit 1 million subscribers. For those of you who don't know, I relaunched the Winding Road channel back in 2011 when I graduated from college. And as you've probably noticed, the third celebration is, this is my new Subaru BRZ. I found one that was an order that canceled, and I got really lucky getting this car. It is a 2022 Subaru BRZ 6-speed manual premium, which is actually the base model. Anyway, we're gonna walk around this BRZ here in a sec, but before I do, I just wanted to thank everyone for watching these last 11 years on the Winding Road channel and on this channel. I really only kind of started taking this channel seriously in 2017, so it hasn't been as long, but 1,000 videos is a cool milestone, and for Winding Road, having 1 million subscribers has been a long time coming, and it's been a lot of fun getting there. We've driven so much cool stuff over the years. This is just, for me, a journey to find the perfect car and bring you all along with it, and hopefully give you guys an idea of what it's like to get behind the wheel of everything that we drive. So again, big thank you to all of you for your support, and also big thank you to all the contributors on the Winding Road channel. I did not do that myself. We had a lot of help. Tons and tons of videos were uploaded from various contributors out in LA and here in Detroit. Charlie Dreyer with the Daily Motor YouTube channel has done a lot of work recently to really bring the Winding Road channel a bunch of videos every month. He's kind of taken over most of the video uploads on that channel these days, and Substitute Topher is also uploading to the Winding Road channel. All right, so there's that. Let's talk about this new BRZ. Guys, it's been a journey. I've been looking for the next car for probably the last 6 months, trying to figure out what I want. I've gone anywhere from Vipers to Porsches to M2s to Tesla Model 3 Performance, and pretty much everything that I looked at kept bringing me back to the Subaru BRZ. It's so hard to beat the value proposition from these cars. Consumables are cheap. Everything else was twice as much. I was able to get this at MSRP, paid $28,000 for it. Got gap insurance, got wheel and tire insurance, and bargained those down quite a bit too. Got about half off. This is actually the first manual BRZ that I've driven. I've only driven automatics. I drove the manual GR86. I was actually trying to get my hands on a GR86. I kind of like the way that handles a little bit better. I heard this BRZ has a bit more understeer, but I actually really appreciate the way this BRZ rides. It's quite a bit softer than the GR86. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get in the car. You might notice I have a set of Bridgestone Blizzak WS90 winter tires on here. Figured I'd fit these, had them on hand, and pretty much drove them off the lot on the car. I also got the front bumper wrapped. A guy in Plymouth here named Larry, Clear Auto Bra, Michigan, does a fantastic job. He did that wrap a couple days ago, and you can't even tell it's on there. He's just amazing. If you're in the Southeast Michigan area, I would highly recommend his services. He's a master at his craft. And the keener-eyed viewers may notice some mud flaps. These are very interesting because they look a lot like Rally Armor mud flaps, but they're actually the OEM Subaru BRZ mud flaps. They look really cool. They're bendy at the bottom. They have a mounting bracket back there. The dealer just installed them, and I was like, yeah, why not? I think that's a great idea. A little bit of a separation in the back with the way this bracket mounts, so kind of an interesting design. Might bend that in a little bit different direction eventually, but for now, they're super functional. The mud flap is great, but some of its purpose is a little bit lost with this vent right here behind the front wheel, because this gets caked in dirt. I'm actually going to get this ceramic coated in a couple weeks, and it'll look a lot cleaner more of the time. All right, let's pop the hood, show you guys under the engine bay here. I've done a couple things to this BRZ. I disabled the active sound control. That was really easy. I'll show you where that is in a minute. it's actually really great to get back into a familiar chassis and a familiar car. I spent 6 years, 60,000 miles on my last BRZ, and I've got to say this is pretty much identical. There's not a whole lot that they changed from a functionality standpoint. Lots of just little tweaks and adjustments. The torque, the power from this new engine is fantastic. You can see they've got a little sandwich plate oil cooler there, which is kind of cool. And a lot of similar stuff that enthusiasts were doing themselves to these cars, Subaru and Toyota went ahead and did for us. There are plenty of videos out there on this, but basically to disable the active sound control, you just pop this panel out. There's a little screwdriver hole in the bottom. Unplug this little module that's right here. Super easy to access, and active sound is disabled. I didn't like it because it droned a little bit on the highway and it just sounded fake. But luckily it's very easy to do yourself. We have a slightly different trunk opening in this BRZ, this new 2022 BRZ. I'm not sure it's going to be as easy to fit my mountain bike in the back as it was with the previous gen, but we'll figure that out eventually. No spare tire, though you can fit one, and I'm going to prove that later this weekend. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. I'm just literally buying a spare tire from the previous generation BRZ. You can see it already comes with a jack, the tow hook, and the tire iron. So pretty much just need to get the tire, the top little foam donut piece, and the retaining pin that screws into that screw hole down there. Super practical sports car. One thing that's a little bit different, license plate now mounts down here, so there really isn't a good place to put your hand to close the trunk. I've just been putting my fingers on the Subaru logo. But otherwise you're getting fingerprints on the car, which is a little bit annoying. Exhaust tips look a lot better than my 2014 did when that came stock. The blue. Okay, so I originally really wanted a black BRZ. I've always thought black BRZs, GR86s look really proper. Couldn't find one, and I wasn't sold on the blue until I saw it, and the more I see it, the more I like it. World Rally Blue, a Subaru color that has been carried down over generations of Imprezas and STIs and WRXs, now on the BRZ. I actually wasn't as much of a fan of this color on the previous gen, but I actually think it looks really good on this new car. A lot of changes to the interior. Again, we've talked about a lot of the stuff in my GR86 videos. Love Apple CarPlay. Love that I finally get a reverse camera in this car. Super easy controls to dim the lighting, use climate control. I love these cars because it feels like you're driving something that's 20 years old, but it's brand new. We have a mechanical manual handbrake, a great 6-speed manual transmission, traction control off. This is a little bit funky right here. There's not a great place to put your phone in this car, if I'm being honest. I've just been leaving it right here on the passenger seat. And then yesterday, I was able to fit my son's child seat in the back. Of course, the passenger seat is pushed all the way forward, but I'll show you guys what that looks like in a future video, maybe even a short. We'll see. Okay, let's go for a drive. 331 miles. So we're going to be taking it a little bit easy. We'll keep it under or around 4,000 RPM or so. Initial driving impressions on this car. Well, it's interesting because I've spent a lot of time in the GR86, and there are some notable differences between the two cars. The first I already mentioned, the suspension tuning here in this new BRZ is way softer than it is in the GR86. It has a little bit more understeer as a result, but the ride quality on these Michigan roads is actually quite a bit nicer. It doesn't bounce around as much. I think it's actually a bit softer than the Civic Si. The GR86 and the Civic Si are about even. This is more comfortable. This feels a little bit more like a normal car from a suspension spring rate stance. Steering is very light in this new generation. Makes this car seem a little bit more nimble, a little bit more flickable than the previous BRZ, which tended to feel a little bit heftier and heavier. I think the old car had better steering feel, but this definitely feels a little more nimble and light on its feet because of that lighter steering. Clutch engagement is improved too. It's a lot easier to drive and shift this car smoothly. Now in my previous car, my 2014, I removed the clutch helper spring, and that helped with clutch engagement feel quite a bit, and I may do that with this car. I was looking down there earlier today, and it looks like you need to pull a separate pin and extra pin compared to the old car, but it's a 10-minute job. It shouldn't be too hard. So I'll report on that if I decide to do that mod. Otherwise, I disabled hill start assist. I disabled the seatbelt chime because it's, for some reason, excruciatingly loud in this new BRZ. It's super annoying, and I'm always backing out of my driveway and moving cars around, and it's always coming on, and it's something that I just had to disable. I was very close to pulling the trigger on a Viper, but I didn't want another project, and I didn't want to pay 60 grand for an old car that's still going to need work. I wanted something that's new, something with a warranty, something that has cheap consumables, and that has tire availability. The tire shortages have been really rough this last year, and I've barely been able to find decent tires for half the cars that I've been looking at. Not to mention that the tires on Camaro SS1 LEs and, you know, most of the cars I've been considering are $300-400 a piece. This BRZ, $125 and you're all set. Oh man, what a buzzkill. So that is one thing I really appreciate about this car, is the consumables are super affordable, and it's lightweight, so it's not going to be going through brakes and tires like the heavier cars would. It's interesting because it seems like the hot ticket for this generation is the GR86, and I've got to say there are some things I really do prefer about that car. I like the interior on the GR86 more than the BRZ. I feel like the red stitching in here is nice, but it's a little bit overboard. It's kind of on everything. And I like the subtlety and the classiness of the white stitching in the GR86. Toyota logo seems to look a little bit better on the steering wheel. The interior just feels a little bit brighter and lighter. That said though, I love this new interior. I know in photos it doesn't look as nice, it's not as attractive, but in the flesh, in real life, sitting in this, it's a nice place to be. I don't really miss the last interior as much as I thought I would, and I loved the way that interior looked. It was so iconic and so unique. This is definitely a little bit more traditional, but that's okay. I'm all right with it. You can hear there without the active sound control, this car is a lot quieter, but it's not silent. You still get a little bit of induction noise. You still get a little bit of an exhaust note. Don't know if I'm going to be putting a Corsa exhaust on this car or not. I will probably consider it once a tune comes out for these cars where I can disable the high revving startup. So we'll see. I like driving this car sometimes late at night, early in the morning, and I don't want to wake up the whole neighborhood on a cold start because that Corsa does get really loud sometimes. Just such a good chassis. The shifter still feels great. It's honestly very similar to the last BRZ. I feel like the shifting from a cold start, the action is a lot more user-friendly. It doesn't notch into gear and resist your shifts and inputs as much, which is really nice. It feels about like my previous BRZ did with redline fluid in it. Fellow World Rally Blue Subaru there. This is a little bit of an easier car to drive than the previous gen. The shift action, the smoothness, the refinement here is a really big win for this new Subaru BRZ. There are no rattles. The ride over bumps feels a lot more, just a lot nicer. The leather on the steering wheel feels really high quality. Again, these are changes that Subaru and Toyota started to make towards the tail end of the previous generation BRZ and 8.6, and that I really noticed compared to my car after the refresh. But they've taken it to the next level with this new generation and just given this car a lot more refinement. You'll notice between shifts there's just a little bit of a rev up when I clutch in. Throttle response has improved the more I've put miles on this car, the more I've driven it, and I haven't revved it out enough to really see what type of rev hang there is in this new car. So we'll figure that out and maybe do a tune if needed when the time comes. We'll see. It's so hard not to rev this thing out. You can hear the mud flap rubbing up there a minute ago. Those mud flaps are so low, it doesn't take much for them to hit the ground. Of course, I always like to put my blind spot fisheye mirrors on, my AutoZone $4 special adjustable mirrors. Those seem to do a really nice job showing my blind spots. I don't miss not having blind spot monitoring. It's great because I was able to get the car that I wanted. This is the base model. I didn't want all the frills. I didn't want to have to pay a little bit extra for a few features that I didn't really need. I've never really cared about heated seats. I actually prefer cloth because they keep me a little bit better bolstered. And with the extra bolsters from this new BRZ, they're actually really nice. They might not be as comfortable as the previous generation seats, but I'm still kind of figuring out my seating position. And on some longer drives, it has been okay. Love this new touchscreen. It's pretty responsive. You've got physical buttons for your home, your phone, your apps, your radio. That's really nice. I appreciate that. We have really nice physical switches, knobs, dials, buttons for the climate control. I appreciate that, though I'm still kind of getting used to the layout of this new climate control setup. I feel like it isn't as intuitive as the previous generation. Still, though, it's just fine. It looks good, and it's very, very functional. I love that we actually get an oil temperature gauge in this new BRZ. That's going to be super helpful for track driving. You also get a tire pressure monitor screen where you can see your tire pressures at all four corners. That's fantastic. Lap timer, G meter, a power and torque curve display, which actually shows a little bit of a torque dip in there, but not that much. And you're back to the lap timer. You can see your music, and you've got a bunch of settings. All right, let's push this around a corner just a little bit. We've got traction and stability control off. We have these different style turn signals in the new BRZ, like old style BMW turn signals. They don't stay, it's a two-press stock. Still handles pretty well on these Blizzak WS80s. There is definitely some understeer here, but you have to push to get into it. Probably as soon as I throw summer tires on here and take this out to the track, I'll throw some negative camber in up front. Honestly, I'm going to enjoy this in stock form as long as I can, and then I'll start throwing some mods at it. I kind of would like to do a lifted rallycross style build with this and maybe take it racing a little bit more on some dirt and some snow and some ice. The roads here in Michigan have gotten so horrendous and so brutal that I feel like I just need to lift this and throw some bigger tires on it for it to even just be drivable on some of these potholed sections of road. So that's an option. There are some companies out there that make a decent lift kit, a coilover system. We'll see what I can swing and go from there. I really appreciate how so much of the aftermarket on these cars carries over to this new generation. I know people have been swapping over exhausts, suspension setups, wheels, tires, brakes, everything pretty much just bolts right on. It's great because they just put a bigger engine in this BRZ and left everything else and stiffened the chassis. And this BRZ has a different rear sway bar mounting location than the previous gen, but a lot of other stuff is very similar. As far as power, super happy with the power level now. This is what this car always needed. I know it sounds kind of funny, but the fact that it's actually quicker than a Miata now is a pretty big accomplishment, because the Miata's actually quite quick. The ND1, the ND2 was on my short list as well. Problem is, used car prices are so ridiculous right now. A used Miata is more than what I paid for this. On first impressions, headlights seem pretty good too. Maybe an improvement over my 2014 BRZ. This does not have the adaptive headlights in the limited model. That would have been nice, but again, a concession I was willing to make. Alright guys, well, I think that's a pretty good first impressions video on this car. Not a whole lot of fun we can have with it just yet. Still getting these break-in miles on. I will keep you guys updated with everything that goes on with this new BRZ. We'll be having a lot of fun with this thing this year. Hopefully we get another snow in. I just put this up on my buddy's lift earlier today and sprayed some Crown on all the suspension components, and so I don't have to worry too much about everything rusting in the remaining months of winter. But yeah, hopefully we get one more snow in this and I can test out these Blizzak WS80s on the slippery stuff, because honestly, winter driving was kind of my favorite season in my previous BRZ. I thought driving it in the snow, driving it on the winter tires, getting it to move around a little bit was just so enjoyable, and with the extra power with this new BRZ, I think that's going to be the same case. So I'll probably stick with the stock Michelin Primacies for the first track day, and then we'll see if we can upgrade to a stickier setup. We'll see. Still not sure what I want to do with this car. I actually really like these standard 17-inch wheels. I think they look really nice. So I might just swap the summer tires back on them, and then next year for a winter setup, go with 16-inch wheels and lift it up a little bit. Get some really meaty sidewalls on this car. So probably we'll swap out these lights for LEDs. They run a little bit cooler, take less energy, and look a little bit nicer in the cabin. Cool. It is fun to have a blue car again. We also just bought a 21 Toyota Highlander hybrid that's in that dark blue to replace the Mazda CX-30. We're buying and selling cars like crazy this week. We sold the Mazda CX-30 to Vroom, got 27 grand for that, which was amazing because we paid 28 for it. Crazy values right now. So I'll do a video on that Highlander too. But for now, I wanted to get this out as the 1000th video on the TheTopher channel, and thank you guys for all your support over the years. It's been a really fun run, and here's to the next 10. I could just do this forever. I've loved sharing all these cars and all the driving experiences with you over the years, and I think we can just keep it going. So anyway, thanks for watching. Here's the new BRZ. Lots of fun stuff planned for this year and next, and I don't know, I might hold on to this one for a while. This is a really enjoyable car. I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would. It's gonna be hard to get rid of this and get into anything else. A car like this just kind of suits me. It suits my philosophy, and I hope those of you who are also looking for one can find them in this market. They are very well developed and well executed sports car. One of the last of its kind. I think, if you're looking for a true enthusiast driving machine, this is about as close as it gets, and about as cheap as it gets these days. Seems like everything is $50,000, $60,000. You can't get anything anymore with a mechanical handbrake. Everything has traction control nannies. Everything's all-wheel drive. Everything's automatic. Yeah, this is a great sports car, and wanted to put my money where my mouth is on this one. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions about this. We'll be posting some more on this very soon.